I'll go through all of today's Tesla stock news, starting with a warning to Tesla stock investors. 16 big Nordic Tesla stock investors threatened to sell their Tesla shares if Tesla does not sign a collective agreement in Sweden to avoid further strikes. And we know they are not playing. About $100 million worth of Tesla stock has already been sold. Despite that though, Tesla stock actually is up slightly. And while individually some of these Nordic investors do not hold all that much in Tesla stock, for example, this one holds about $200 million worth of Tesla stock, when you add them all up, it adds up to a significant amount. If they all actually end up selling Tesla stock, I think, at least short term, we would see a bit of a dip, or at least certainly downward pressure on Tesla stock. But because this has nothing to do with Tesla's fundamentals and all about blackmailing Tesla into signing something that their employees in Sweden don't even want, I say if Tesla stock drops because of this, it's a buying opportunity. This definitely brings back some memories. However, right now we are above the 365-day moving average, meaning in the short term, this suggests it may not be as good of a buying opportunity, but in the long term, I'm sure we will look back to this moment and say, oh, that was a steal. So the demand from these 16 Tesla stock investors in the Nordic countries falls under the grow food yourself category. GFY, it's good advice. Looking at stock astrology, we are approaching a really important moment for Tesla stock. If we break through that red line there, which is about at $261, stock astrology would suggest that in April, we could be at $340 per share, up from about $260. Maybe stock astrology just by itself is not real, but because so many people believe in it, it actually becomes sort of real. So do not be surprised if you see a lot of weird and crazy and exaggerated Tesla stories in the next few days, because the bears, the people that will make money from shorting Tesla, will probably try to really attack Tesla. So this is a warning to Tesla stock investors. Watch out for the next few days or a few weeks. Rolling Stone says Elon Musk's big lie about Tesla is finally exposed. More than 2 million of the cars are being recalled because of Tesla's self-driving systems have always been anything but. Yet Rolling Stones got their lie exposed right under their post with a community note. The recall mentioned here is just a voluntary over-the-air software update by Tesla through increasing the prominence of visual alerts on the user interface. The headline is being purposefully misleading. There is no lie that is exposed here, just an update. And I'm not entirely sure, but it appears that Rolling Stone at first deleted maybe their original post and then they reposted it again because their original post got community noted. I'm not sure about this, but it does seem like that perhaps happened. Elon had a good laugh about this too. Here's today's Cybertruck update. This morning, 9 Cybertrucks were spotted in the outbound lot here. So yeah, production is actually progressing. Tesla is not just moving the same Cybertrucks from one place to another. We do see new Cybertrucks coming out of the factory. There's a feud going on between Elon Musk and Disney. Tesla just removed Disney Plus from some cars amid this beef. Tesla informed Disney Plus last week that it would remove its native app from the Tesla Theater in its vehicles without giving a reason as to why, but we all know what the reason is. A few days later, Tesla told Disney that it would actually only remove the app for Tesla owners who never used the app before. There will certainly be many that will champion this move from Elon, but those people that were planning to use the app but haven't used yet in the vehicle will definitely not be happy. My guess is this is just going to be a temporary move. The moment Disney comes to advertise on X, the app will start working for everyone in Tesla's vehicles as well. This is important for us Tesla stock investors to understand. Many people complain about Tesla's service, but I think these people don't have all that much experience with it. In the past, years ago, certainly, there were times when Tesla service was not great at all. And to this day, you can still find stories that happen. And Tesla is a huge company, so inevitably you will have some bad stories. But Many stories like this one are completely missed by many investors, especially Tesla bears. I've had technicians actively talk me out of non-critical repairs or how to group them together so that they are cheaper to fix based on what parts of the car need to be accessed. And I think one big reason why this happens is because the structure that the company is designed under makes people that do all the repairs not be incentivized to sell as many needless repairs to each customer as possible. They just want the customer to do well. So they actually give them good advice because that is their incentive structure. But if you go to a regular dealer, they will try to sell you every single thing that they possibly can, including things that you totally don't need, because that's where they make most of their money. Not Tesla though. Gary Black is adjusting his Tesla estimates. I am trimming my Q4 and 2024 earnings per share estimates to reflect higher inventory discounts. The new estimates are deliveries, 476,000 for Q4. And for 2024, he is at 2.4 million deliveries. Not too long ago, he was at 50% year-over-year growth projected for 2024, which would put deliveries at roughly 2.7 million. So that's a fairly big reduction there. But Wall Street only expects 5.8 million deliveries in 2030. That is just way too low. This is who we are competing against, guys. This makes me happy, but also sad at the same time that some people can indeed be so ignorant and still be regarded as experts. You mean to tell me the company that this year will have the world's best-selling vehicle title for the Model Y is not going to make any new products? You mean other models will not sell well? Is that what you are telling me? I mean, you are if you think that Tesla will only sell 5.8 million vehicles in 2030. That's just absurd. It's really simple. You just need to answer, is the future electric? Yes, it is. And who is going to make the best mass market cars? Tesla is. So therefore, Tesla will be selling more vehicles than anyone else. Gary Black also updated his catalyst list. On this old list, he had FSD version 12 level 4 alpha release in 2024 as a catalyst, but he no longer has it here. Also, he's still keeping the India import duties deal, but we just learned that there are some issues. Non-disclosure of key details including price and investment outlook has emerged as the key sticking point in the negotiation over the entry of Elon Musk's Tesla in India. Tesla has not disclosed pricing details for the introduction of its cars in the Indian market. Besides, there are also concerns regarding the calculation method of investment and the absence of a clear timeline for its entry, senior officials told Business Standard. So that explains the headline from a few days ago. In a blow to Tesla, India says it is not planning to cut EV import taxes anymore. So I am a lot less optimistic about India now, especially knowing that Tesla is so actively looking into Thailand and that it has now officially committed pretty much to expand within China. This is really good news for Tesla. We learned this from CBC. Canada to announce Tuesday they are going 100% EV by 2035 with intermediate targets of 20% by 2026 and 60% by 2030. Current adoption is at 8.5%, although over here in Vancouver, it feels like we have so many Teslas, but I guess we will see a lot more of them. Automakers will be on a credit system that incentivizes EV sales. So I smell something. Lots of delicious regulatory credit sales for Tesla. Millions and millions and millions of dollars in pure profit. The smell is similar to that of a buying opportunity, although not as good, but it's still pretty good. One reason why Canada is making this decision is because one of the officials said, we are making sure that supply is going toward Canadian markets because one of the issues with EVs is that we are competing against other markets where the actual EVs are being shipped to, like China. To some degree, that makes sense, but also if you look at the US has bigger EV incentives, 7,500 USD. In Canada, you get 5,000 Canadian. So it's only 3,700. It's a big difference. In the US, it's basically double. Sawyer took a shot at the CEO of GM, but in reality, she just shot herself back in 2022. She said in July 2022, we will sell more EVs than Tesla by mid-decade. Now, to be fair, she did not say which decade. But now she says, we did not execute well this year as it relates to demonstrating our EV capability. You look at 2023 US sales, and Tesla is at 488,000 roughly. GM is only at 56,000 EV sales specifically. She's such a great leader who matters, has the capability to lead GM straight into bankruptcy, all while pocketing $29 million in 2022. Wow. 3 of China's biggest EV manufacturers are in talks to find sites for plants in Latin American country and specifically in Mexico. That of course includes BYD, but it seems that they clearly understand that if they build in Mexico with an intent to take advantage of the $7,500 tax credit in the US, they may not actually end up getting it. And some of the Mexican officials are afraid to upset the US, so it doesn't seem like they are overly eager to have the Chinese companies build in Mexico. Some of the Chinese will certainly invest in Mexico. I mean, one of them is already planning to build a $2 billion factory in Mexico, but BYD is still thinking about it. There's no final confirmation from BYD yet. We should carefully watch BYD because it is actually able to compete with Tesla. Tomorrow we will get local deliveries in China, and Gary expects 15,000 deliveries, but to achieve a new quarterly record in China, Tesla only needs to average 12,300 per week over the last 3 weeks. So any number over that is not a bad number, really. Also, Gary made a comment about why he took off the FSD version 12 catalyst from his list. Biggest risk remains new price cuts. Elon hasn't talked about FSD much, which leads me to believe FSD 12 is not ready for release, but we see little incremental value attached to FSD implied in Tesla stock. But isn't that sort of a bit of a trend? Elon at the end of the year stops talking about FSD because it's a bit embarrassing that, again, he was wrong that particular year, but then the next year starts, he brings that optimism back. Here are Tesla sales in Sweden. Despite the strike, there's no major dip in Tesla sales. Now, I think we were on track to have a record quarter, but we did fall slightly behind the previous quarter. Although, recently, the deliveries seem to have accelerated again, but that's probably just one of these increases where Tesla imports a bunch of vehicles. So this remains to be determined. I think there's certainly a visible effect here, but it's not all that bad. I mean, many people would expect the sales to completely collapse, but that's obviously not the case at all. This is just beyond embarrassing. The all-new Mercedes-Benz AMG EQE SUV has gotten its EPA range, and it's only 235 miles for $109,000. This is bonkers. You look at Tesla's Model X or Model S with just a slightly bigger battery, their range is so much more. Dylan, the host of Electrified, shared some words of wisdom. This is not financial advice about Tesla stock, but if you buy as much as you can afford monthly, no matter what's happening with price, hold until the calendar year says 203, insert any number. I'm pretty confident you will wake up very glad you did buy as much Tesla stock as possible. I definitely agree with Dylan here that timing to trim at highs and buy at lows is not required for investing, nor is using leverage. I just buy every single month. And I think Dylan gives some pretty good advice here. The path to generating long-term returns with Tesla stock is not complicated, nor does it require being an expert. It requires two things. Number one, conviction for the downtimes to not sell, like many people sold back in December of last year. Silly, I just bought more. And you have to keep buying through these times, not just not sell. And number two is enough time in Tesla, not timing Tesla. It also needs to be said, having a concentrated position in any one stock is the wrong decision for some that do not have the proper risk tolerance or understanding of stock market basics. You gotta know yourself. And this is where I think some of you should really pay attention. I have gotten tens, if not hundreds of messages over the years from people in dark places because they invested too much and or used leverage poorly and could not handle the downtrends and lost conviction and liquidity. Sacrificing your peace of mind for potential financial returns is a poor trade if you ask me. Depends on who you are. For me, I'm okay with that, but I can go through a lot of stress and it doesn't affect me. No matter how great a company Tesla is, things can always get worse than you think in the short term. Invest wisely and for most, keep it simple. So buy every single month, no matter what the stock does pretty much, as long as you pay less than what you think Tesla's fair market price is. Meaning you should definitely have a Tesla stock valuation model. I have my own on Patreon if you'd like to see mine. And Dylan revealed that he only holds one stock, and that is Tesla stock. He does have a bit of cryptocurrency, and he has some money in art as well. But as far as stocks go, Tesla stock is his only one. I thought for some time that he owns multiple stocks, but yeah, no, turns out no. Dylan used to be a money manager, and he managed millions of dollars before, so that's why I thought he probably owns multiple stocks. My biggest fear before buying a Tesla vehicle was, what happens if I need to charge my Tesla and it rains? Well, it turns out nothing happens, but I would still suggest to not try this at home because this Chinese guy already did it for you. And I do find it a bit weird how there's a cut right before or right after he plugs it in, there's a cut. Did you see that? Why did they add that cut there? Someone says to now do it with salt water, but where does it rain? Where does salt water rain?
How much power does it take to move an arm that big? Is it?
Well, the whole truck's, moved to 48 volts. I think we've talked about that. But
Right.
like this wiper probably couldn't exist without that because, we have a 48 volt motor that's connected here. It's just under a kilowatt, so it's like 600, 800 watts of power to move it back and forth at the speeds we need. When you're on the highway, it's raining a lot. It's got to clear that highway speed really.
And that's
really
heavy,
quick.
that water moving.
Yeah, and you get the aero resistance coming up
Right.
against it. There's actually a little spoiler here to keep it down when you're driving at speed. Otherwise, wipers tend to kind of flop up because usually the low pressure area is underneath. So that was an aero challenge. It was a motor challenge. It was a design challenge. But then it was also like, where does the water go? Because this windshield is straight. Normally you shove the water and you park down here and the wiper keeps the water down.
Right.
So we had to work on the angles and the timing just so the water drains off to the side. It actually shoots when you do a wet wipe, for clean water out the back side of the blade on this side. So you're shooting it up and then we're shoving it off the side of the vehicle when you're driving. I mean, that alone is probably most companies' definition of innovation.
Yeah, right.
But that was just one small part we had to get done.
In the meantime, some other companies are proud to lead innovation by cutting production. That's their way of innovating.
Wade mode.
As in wading in water.
Yeah, sit in water. You want to go through a river. We wanted to make sure you could do that. And you can go through about 2.5 feet, a little more than 2.5 feet of water without any water getting into the cabin and having to worry about that. But also with an electric vehicle, we wanted to be super smart about that. We have this new technology called, we call it the scuba pack, because we took the air suspension system, we actually pressurized the battery. Water and batteries, they don't really get along. You
Right.
get electrolytes and they start to arc, but we wanted to keep that water out and make sure you wouldn't have to worry about that. And that's where we came up with the scuba pack. And that happens just by pressing a button on the UI, say wade mode, will pressurize the pack.
And what forces the water out?
It forces air into the pack, and all you need to keep the water out, because it is a sealed pack, is just a little bit of positive pressure, right? Just a little bit of positive pressure to keep any of those leak points or the flood ports.
If you want to maximize the longevity of your Cybertruck, I would suggest to not do this, but if you don't mind, you certainly can. The car should be just fine. Probably. However, please know this, it takes up to 10 minutes to pressurize the battery to get it ready for water, and it can last for a maximum of 30 minutes, at which point it will automatically be deactivated later. So you don't want to go swimming for a long time in the Cybertruck.
What we did is we made an off-road light, and actually that's a little Easter egg. You can see here there's a little roof rack mount here. You push it up and there's a wire in there, a 48-volt wire that'll power our off-road light, which is actually laser lit. And it fills up the road, you know, how far does it go, Franz, do you remember?
Over 5 football fields.
Yeah, down the way.
length.
So
Wow.
just about half a mile
it's
down the
pretty
road. And we get to do that because we made it ourselves. It fills in the area you don't see with your brights on. So when you go off-roading with that roof light, man. And then we did that back here with the tent and the tailgate and the tonneau. So you have the roof rack mounts here. There's 4 of them that go all the way up the truck. And it's really about customizable, as you said, Swiss Army knife.
Yeah,
so.
Swiss Army knife. I mean, we designed a tent that's specific for this. It's an inflatable tent. You can inflate it and have your tent built in basically less than 5 minutes. Includes a mattress in it, so you can overnight anywhere.
Great camping vehicle. And the air suspension is super, super fast. It can do up to a half an inch a second,
Wow.
which is super quick, up and down. We have more travel than any of the other air suspensions on the market, the Rams, the Rivians, whatever. And we can go up and down through our entire travel faster than anyone. You like that 4-wheel steering, huh? I had to convince Elon on that one.
I mean, it's as quiet as the Rolls Spectre in here almost.
Well, you know, we got acoustic glass everywhere, so you get really great reduction in transparency, because it's basically like having double pane windows.
It has now also been officially confirmed that Tesla indeed received over $2,100,000 deposits for the Cybertruck. This is no longer a rumor, it is actually real. Tesla also directly confirms that they are working on a wireless inductive charging pad for your garage where you just park over it and it automatically starts charging your vehicle. You will lose a little bit of energy, but it shouldn't be a huge amount. But if you are really saving, you know, a few dollars here, then you'll just want to plug your vehicle directly into a charger instead of just doing this. But if you are well off, then yeah, you won't want to bother just plugging it in. It's not difficult really, but this would be a nice addition for some owners. And I'd like to thank all of my Patreon supporters. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in tomorrow's episode. Thank you so much for watching.